So, I finished the scene I was working on for book 3, and now seems like a good time to give it a stab. So, the first third of Mission Creep. Marcus Orling nursed his unadorned coffee, though his trusty rum bottle weighed down the inner pocket of his jacket. The unusual crush of bodies in his favorite off-campus coffee shop had so far made it unwise to add the much-desired brace. An elbow pushed into the space between his shoulder blades. High-pitched giggles told him it could only be a group of feminine students working their way to the counter. A glance confirmed his conjecture. 4-year examples of fine womanly flesh, on the ordinary side. He returned his attention to his two-plain coffee. Not being faculty, he didn't have to live by the constraints of his fellow researchers, but that didn't mean he could be overt in his actions. Though maybe such a distraction would take the edge off the stress of the upcoming assessment of his work. A flash of violet drew his attention up and 3 tables over. Short cropped brown hair, angular face, narrow eyes, and skin pink enough to show blushes real enough. Such exotic beauty had to mean she was one of the latest crop of off-worlders to grace the Institute. Hadn't he even seen her in the vicinity of the stellar dynamics section a few times over the last week? She almost met his gaze, then looked down at the roll on her plate. A moment later she glanced back at him. This time a tentative smile brightened her face. This could prove to be just the distraction he was looking for. A squad of muscle-bound athletes blocked his view. She wasn't there when they moved on. By the door, she stopped to flash another smile his way. Their gazes met. She slipped outside. He abandoned his coffee. The promenade proved too big, almost as busy as a cafe. He couldn't see her anywhere. A flash of just the right shade of violet across the tree-lined medium. He had her headed to a side walkway, one that didn't lead to anywhere popular, and would be relatively quiet at this time of day. Around the corner, past a flowering bush in desperate need of trimming, she stood beside a gentle fountain finishing off the last of her roll. A pleasing blush flushed her cheeks. Or maybe a touch of what am I doing? So much the better. Time to make his move. Excuse me, miss? She wiped her hands on a cloth taken from a back pocket, an exotic beauty from head to toe. Sheila. Sheila, that's a pretty name. I'm Marcus, Dr. Marcus Orling at your service. Dr. Orling? The Dr. Orling? Who wrote that paper on the refinements to threshold detection limits? This could be easier than he hoped. The same. Haven't I seen you around the stellar dynamics section? Is that how you discovered my work? She wouldn't quite meet his gaze. She felt undeserving of his attention. He moved a little closer. I'm not faculty. You could treat me just like another man on campus. Just another man on campus? You? I'm honored you even notice an outsider like myself. There are so few of us, and so many of you locals keep your distance. He touched her forearm, which she didn't pull away. Come now, you read my opus. Not many students can say the same. That makes you special in my eyes. Her shoulders slumped. It's not that simple. Why not? He moved a little closer. She wouldn't look at him. I know of your work, but I'll be lucky to just continue my studies long enough to make sense of the basics. Another clue he could make use of. I can't offer this to just any student, but one who knows my work enough to recognize me. This time she touched him. Offer what? I like you, Sheila. There's a spunk about you that could blossom under the right conditions. It had been a while, but oh, the possibilities if he could get her to see him as a mentor. I can't promise it will work out, but I can offer a little tutoring. Enough to pass your exams, if you're willing to put in effort to make it worth both our whiles. You would do that for me, a complete stranger? We all start out as strangers. It's not what we do after, it's what we do after meeting that determines where it goes from there. He puffed out his chest at having come up with such a profound statement at a time like this. She ran a hand down his arm. No one's ever been so generous to me. Without better grades, I might not even be allowed to continue my studies. I can work hard. You'll see. Her hand had not lifted from his arm. So close. Would she agree to the next step? I have a couple of hours free right now. My lab is off limits to students, But I only live a short distance from here. I could evaluate where you are right now. She blanched. Your place? Now? Wouldn't that? You forget, I'm not faculty, and it'll be quick. Enough to let us know if a more formalized arrangement should be entered into. He turned his arm to take her hand. No promises, no commitments. We can sound each other out and take her from there. She touched his chest with her other hand. There's no one waiting for me at home. My parents would be so hurt if I get sent home after all they did to get me here. Yes. Then it's settled. I even promised to take you home when the evaluation over. No rush. As I said, no one's watching out for me at my modest room. This was getting better by the moment. It'll take a little longer, but we can avoid the crush by heading this way to my car. You're such a considerate gentleman. The side route he led her through still contained too many prying eyes for him to get close to this chip. Played right, this could only heighten the desire she's sending his way. To keep up affairs, he quizzed her on basic aspects of stellar dynamics. She faltered in her rudimentary understanding to his last question when they approached the sportiest car in the lot. He'd paid a lot of money to elicit that response from the ladies, and from the men who could only be jealous of his prowess for that matter. Bright red, low-slung, every line said speed, and money, and comfort. The average person could never tell this machine from its actual supercar. His remote caused the passenger door to rise as he led her around the sleek nose. What do you think of my little rocket? She looked at him. This is really yours? Every last gram of luxury power. Take a look at where you'll be sitting. The body-molded seat sat so low she'd be more comfortable and more enticing leaning back the way he had preset. As a driver, he didn't have quite as much freedom. Plenty of time behind the wheel had helped him get even that just right. His one regret, the center console made cuddling a challenge. I'll get to ride in there? And that's the first third of Mission Creep. As you probably noticed, this is a grainier story than any of the others I've written. But it was an interesting challenge, and I'm happy with the way it came up. So, until next time.